told a direct lie to ministers, to colleagues, to the public, that's a serious disciplinary offence where the punishment could go all the way up to dismissal.
You mentioned in a BBC interview that certain crafts which are unidentified could be a threat to our defence. What did you mean by that?
Well, now, that's an interesting point, and it's, in military terms, and this is the way that the Ministry of Defence views the situation, and let's put UFOs to one side for a moment, because I think the key question is how we define a threat. And how the military define a threat is as follows. It's capability plus intent. Now, the classic example of this, of course, was weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. There were many people who said, look, even if Saddam Hussein does have weapons of mass destruction, i.e. a capability, does he actually seriously have an intent to attack the West? There were a number of figures, retired figures in the intelligence community who were very critical of the decision to go to war, because they said even if there was capability, which we don't necessarily even accept, and history perhaps suggests there wasn't, we don't think there was intent. So how can there be a threat? It's like saying the UK has nuclear weapons, so therefore we have a capability. Are we going to attack the Russian Federation? No, of course we're not. So we have a capability, but we have no intent. Therefore, the Russian Federation, looking at the UK, says capability, 100%. They've got nuclear weapons. Intent, 0. Now, that's the equation that you then, I think, need to bring to bear on the UFO situation. So let's deal with the easy one first, capability. It seems to me, looking back over at least 60 years of sightings, that there is a compelling case to be made for saying, and I'm setting aside the 95% of all this that is just misidentifications of aircraft lights, weather balloons, satellites, etc. Let's take that out. Yeah. Let's look at the real core phenomenon. It seems to me there's a compelling case to say that in terms of structured craft, witnessed by reliable people, police officers, commercial airline pilots, military personnel, Air Force pilots, who have seen these things perform speeds and manoeuvres in excess of anything their own aircraft can do, who have on occasion been scrambled to try and intercept these things to get a close look at them when they've been tracked on radar. So again, radar is another compelling piece of evidence that takes us a step above eyewitness testimony, of course. So you've got, for example, situations where people are tracking an uncorrelated target on the radar screen. The jets have been scrambled, they've gone up, they've had a look, they've seen these objects, they've seen them perform speeds and manoeuvres that we can't match, they've photographed them on occasion with the gun cameras that many aircraft have. So, where does that take us? To my mind, capability, yes. There seems to be, I think, with some of these cases, a technology
that's fast. How is that a threat?
Well, now that we go back to the equation. Capability plus intent equals threat. Capability, yes. Intent, unknown. So, if the answer to the question threat was no, then pardon me. If the answer to the question intent, as in hostile intent, was a definite no, then of course the answer to the threat question would be a definite no, because as I was saying earlier, you would have capability but no intent, therefore no threat. But again, it seems to me, looking at a whole range of cases over the world, that what we've got is a range of different things that are being reported, some of which are contradictory. So people talk about very near misses, for example, between UFOs and commercial airline aircraft. Now, you don't have to look at that with too different a mindset to say, well, if I was flying a military jet and I flew right across the front of a commercial aircraft, so close that the pilot had time, and I'm talking about a specific case here from the Ministry of Defence files from 1991, over the mainland UK, where the pilot had time to shout, "Look out, look out," and then this craft flashed in front of the aircraft. That, to me, whilst not overtly hostile action, is pushing it fairly close. It's an aggressive act, if not an outright act of war. It's provocative. And of course, that's not an isolated incident. And again, this isn't just my say-so. There's an audit trail of cases from all around the world. Parviz Jafari, Iran, 1976. Oscar Huertas, Peru, 1980. A range of other things. So, just to finish off that point, it seems to me that intent is unknown. So capability, yes, intent unknown. Therefore, the answer to the threat question, to my mind, is possibly.
All right. So in terms of this unidentified thing that flew past this commercial jet, you're saying that it could be slightly provocative.
Well,
If it is provocative, what's the point? Why are they provoking this commercial jet?
I have no idea. I have no idea. All I can do is report the facts of what happened, that this was what the pilot and his first officer reported, that they believed that their aircraft had come within a whisker of being hit by this thing. Very similar case, 1995, again, an aircraft coming into Manchester Airport, this time, delta-shaped craft, again, flashed right across the front of the aircraft. The pilot came so close to taking violent evasive action. The only thing that stopped him was the fact that this thing was so fast it had gone by the time he could react. Thinking about it afterwards, he said, if I'd have completed that action on instinct, that in itself could have crashed the aircraft, which had, I think, 57 people on board.
As far as you know, what is the death toll based on this provocation?
That's unknown, because you could say that there are a number of cases. One that springs to mind is Thomas Mantell, who was a pilot who was killed whilst trying to get a closer look at a UFO. Now, what one doesn't know, of course, is exactly, did something happen to his aircraft as a direct result of the UFO, or did he push the envelope in terms of his pursuit to try and get a better look at this thing and fly above the safe height where you use oxygen, and so if you look at the UFO literature, you will find deaths, but you will find some people who say yes, these were attributable to UFOs, and others who will say no, this is because we're pushing the envelope too hard, and we're pushing our aircraft and our people beyond their boundaries.
So there's a relation.
So what I'm saying is there have undeniably been deaths. For example, Thomas Mantell, as a result of UFO activity. But again, one doesn't know. We don't even know what that UFO was. Some skeptics say, well, it was just the planet Venus. So we can't, to my mind, attribute any death